So here's the definition of proving that I'd found in good old Google land. And so proving is demonstrating to a specific thing by evidence or argument. So demonstrating that, right, that something of what I'm trying to share has significance in it. So I want to dive into proving, because that's what we're talking about today, is that proving energy. And so here is a little bit about proving energy and how I perceived it, or how I am using it in this equation. And like I said, I don't believe that proving is a bad energy. It's not wrong. Nothing has gone wrong here. In fact, like I said, we were designed to be part of proving. Like, that is actually designed to help keep us safe as human beings. So one of the things I love exploring about the mind is our prefrontal and our limbic system. And so with our limbic, it is designed there to protect us. And one way that it does that is it finds danger in our life, and it finds the easiest way to get shelter or food, or how we can do that to sustain life, because that's part of us being human, right? In order for us to survive, we have to have those in place. And so that is what is our motherboard. So when it comes to like our computer, it's the motherboard. It's the data we've been given. It is our way that we're designed so that we can survive and be able to live our life. Because if a car's coming at us, and if we don't have the instinct to want to jump out of the way if that car's coming, then we're not going to survive very long. Because efficiency, when it comes to proving energy, we choose efficiency based on what we already know. Now, that's a really big thing about proving energy, is it's based on what we know on our past. Kind of that security of what we know can happen because it's already been proven before. And so when I'm talking about proving energy, like I said, I'm not talking about it being bad or good. I'm talking about it in a way that when we stay in proving energy, it keeps us deciding that the past of what we've done before, to stay efficient, we do it again because that's what we know, because that's what we've learned, because that's what makes sense to us, because that's what resonates with us at this time in our life based on the information in the past of what we've had. And so proving energy, one of the big things about proving energy is this have, do, be model. Not sure if you're familiar with it, but I'm going to share with you about how that kind of shows up in our lives. Which is when I have the job I need, when I have the time that I want to get, when I'm earning the money that I want, when I live in the place that I want to live in, when I have that, then I will be able to do what I want to do. Like, it just makes sense, right? So, because right now you don't have it. So in our mind, right, to prove ourselves, to prove to ourselves, because we're proving to ourselves, we're like, well, if I have this, then of course I'd be able to do what I want to do, because this is what I want to have. So I'll have these things, right? Money, time, job, relationship, where I live. I'll have this. Then I can do what it is I want to do. If I have money, then I would have the time to do what I want to do, right? Or if I have time, then I'll be able to do what I want to do. Or if I have a relationship that really meets my needs or is what I want, when I have that, then I'd be able to do what I need to do because I have that love and that companionship. So we have a thought that if I have these things, when I have them, I can do these things, then I will be happy. I will be satisfied. I would arrive. And I want to talk about a little bit of some scarcity thoughts that we have. So some scarcity thoughts are when we start to go down the comparison. So, right, proving we're comparing apples to oranges. And, that's a good one to go, right? Because apples to oranges, we hear a lot of that saying. And the truth is they're different. They have similarities, but they're different too. And so to debate and prove about which one's better is a voice of opinion. It's not actually proof, a fact. And we can get kind of stuck in apples and oranges a lot. And when we start to get stuck in there, we're not expanding and allowing the energy to just go. We're stuck in proving apples to oranges. And then we might throw a lemon in there. So we throw a lemon in there, and we've got apple, oranges, lemons. And now we have all these thoughts, and it's not giving us space to actually expand. We're closing it down. And so that's that comparison. So we can kind of get into scarcity thoughts with comparison. We compare ourselves to others. We compare ourselves to where they're at in life, where we think we should be. We compare that they're doing something this way. Maybe I should do it this way. Like, this is a better way. We really kind of we compare ourselves. Like, we compare ourselves from yesterday to today. And so we even put ourselves into the equation. So comparison's a big one when we have thoughts of that, what I would call proving energy. We also have thoughts of self-judgment, right? So I'm not good enough. And that's when I was talking about accepting a compliment from people, accepting help from people. When we have these thoughts of self-judgment, it keeps us kind of in that space of non-expanding. We kind of start to contract more. And we start to have that scarcity thought because we are contracting, we're not expanding. So we get stuck into that too, of that self-judgment. And then we also kind of throw into the whole battle of it. We have objections, like why we can't do something. So then a scarcity thought of why we can't accomplish this. Well, I can't do this. And again, we can't do this because we're going to use our past to prove that we can't. So anytime we start to drag our past to right now, again, we're trying to prove what is right now. And that is something that can kind of stall us a little bit and can kind of keep us stuck in that same vortex. So that's when you start to feel like you're a hamster on a wheel. Like you just keep on going and going and going. You're hoping you're going to get somewhere, but you're not getting where you want to go. So that's, again, that kind of energy of finding objections, problems that are coming up. And then another one is when we use the past and we predict of what's going to happen in the future based on the past of what's already happened. And so again, that's that scarcity thought of, well, this happened before. And we use that a lot. I know, I mean, I've had arguments before. I get in discussions with people, and we use that as evidence for what could be in the future. We're going to use that past evidence. So we'll use the past of what somebody did or did not do to give evidence that they're not ever going to do it. And so again, we're stuck in that. We're proving that, see, you didn't do this in the past, so now this is what's going to happen. And so we get kind of stuck in that. We get stuck in that rut. And then we wonder, while every time with our relationships, we find ourselves always going back to give evidence that they did this. So why would I ever trust them now? And the actual truth is that whether they did that or not, you could choose to trust them now. But it all depends on how you choose to perceive that right now and how that's going to serve you and what's going on there. And that's that thought work that we're going to dive into a little bit as well. And it's exploring that for yourself and opening up and getting curious about how you're perceiving things. Another form with proving that kind of can show up in our world is the interesting thing about proving, it actually stops the flow of energy. And this is what I mean when I'm saying it stops the flow of energy. A really good example that I can think of is when somebody compliments us. So somebody gives us a compliment, and then we say, oh, no, I'm just, like someone says, your hair looks beautiful today. And you're like, oh, it's just a little frizzy. It's usually not this bad, but thank you. And every time we do that and we don't allow someone to help us and we don't allow a compliment to flow, we are stopping the flow of energy. We are telling the energy that it does not need to go any further than this. And we kind of put like just this roadblock. So just think about it for just 1 second. Think about all the times that people compliment you, that people want to help you, that people offer assistance of some kind, whatever it is, and you don't take it. Or you kind of like shoo it off. No, it's okay. I don't need that. And every time you do that in our lives, every time we do that throughout the day, we now just put a roadblock, a speed bump in our life of energy, because we're proving we got this. We're proving we don't need them. We're proving that it's not a big deal. We got this. We can do this. It's and then we'll tell ourselves, like, it's really not that big of a deal. Is it really that I'm saying no to it? I mean, I'm just being polite. Is kind of maybe even what we think, or I really didn't need that. And so every time that happens throughout the day, like I said, we put this roadblock into our path of creating the energy that we actually so badly desire. We stop it every time. And then we wonder, as we stop that energy every time when someone offers us something, when someone wants to give their perspective on something and we don't, want to listen to it. When those things happen, we put that roadblock every single time into our life. And over time, that really adds up. And what happens is we are stopping that flow of energy that is the energy we really desire of creation, of letting it keep on flowing, of actually accepting it. So anytime we accept what someone gives us, every time a compliment is given, every time somebody suggests that they help us, when they start to do that, we are actually coming from not scarcity, but abundance. Every time we decide to take that on, we're coming from there, and it's opening up the pathways for us to have more. And the more that we have, the less we have to actually prove. So those are some of the energy that I'm talking about behind proving. And like I said, proving, there's nothing wrong with proving. Proving is human nature. Proving is our survival tactic. What I am offering when it comes to proving energy is I am offering you to explore the idea of expanding, so you allow the proving energy to happen, you see it unfolding, and then you decide what it is you want to do with it and how you want to receive it. And truly, the biggest thing to look at, I would say here, when I'm talking about energy and the flow of it, is that when you can expand and allow room for it, and you just kind of allow it to kind of come through, you are expanding. And what you're doing is you are giving, like, as people give you compliments, you're like, oh, thank you. My hair does feel pretty good today. Like, thanks. I do like my hair today. You are allowing it to continue to flow instead of stopping it and saying, oh, my hair doesn't look that good today, even though someone complimented you, even though their flow was going and they were wanting to continue that flow. Connection with people, when we truly want connection happens when we decide that somebody's offering for us, or someone giving us a compliment, or something happening in that sense, we decide to accept it and let it flow. And we just say, oh, thank you for that. And we are validating ourselves when we do that. And we are validating them when they do that as well. And it doesn't mean that someone gives you a compliment and you have to just give them one right back. You can just accept it and say thank you and go on with it. And when you do that, you open up those floodgates. And the fascinating thing is, like I was talking about, as we go throughout the day, and if we don't accept things into our lives, if we don't make room for that, and we put that speed bump in place, every time we do that, it gets a little bumpier, right? The road just gets a little bit more bumpier. And so we could use the energy of prove and go in the past and go, well, I just always don't take compliments, or I don't accept help very often, or I'm not really good at this, or I've never been really good at that. So we take that as evidence as to prove why we can't ever do what we want to in the future. So now that is keeping us stuck. It's keeping us where we are right now. When we decide to stop with the speed bumps and we decide to start lifting them, it has nothing to do with our past, what happens here, or how we received it back then. it actually does increase just by doing and opening that up at the beginning right there, at that point. You don't have to go into the past and like try to fix that and like try to change all that or try to rewrite history. You don't have to do that. You can start right now where you are right now, and you can start opening that up, and you can just allow that to happen. And when you do that, then you are expanding and you're making more room, and you can allow the prove right to come through, but then you can also sit with it and then just decide to create. You don't have to fight it, right? Because every time we start fighting apples to oranges and we add a lemon in there, we're juggling these fruits, and we have nowhere to go. It just keeps on going. It doesn't stop. When all we have to do is go like, yep, that's a lemon, and put it down. Yep, that's an apple. Put it down. Yep, that's an orange. Put it down. I don't have to compare any of this stuff. I don't have to try to figure out which one's better. We can just say, yep, that's what it is. And then I put it down. And I don't have to carry it and try to fight it back and forth. Because the fighting is exhausting and it drains our energy. And I don't believe proving energy was designed to drain us, but I feel like as human beings, we're using it as a defense against us that we can't get better, like things aren't going to improve. We use it as ammunition towards ourselves and towards others instead of using it as what it is. It just is. And we can just make room for it. And it can just flow. Because every time we stop the flow is when we are stopping what could be, and we're not gaining much from it. All right, ladies. So talked a little bit about proving energy and what that how that can kind of show up in our lives, ways that it can begin. And like I said, sometimes it's really sneaky. It gets in there and you think that it's not really proving. You think, no, that's just the truth. Like that's just the evidence. And we're using, like I said, right, when we get into that past focus, or we're using right now, it's interesting because if you look at us as humans, we evolve so much. We've evolved so much from the beginning, right? And that we are continually going to evolve as human beings as we start to tap into our potential. And when we get into that, we'll be talking about that creation. So when we start to tap into that, we realize that there's more to us than what we are giving ourselves right now. All right, so I want to open up for questions, and for anybody that has anything that they'd like to maybe even add in of what they've heard so far, or if they have a question about it. Now, if you have a question, because we're getting close to the 45-minute mark, if you have a question, we'll just kind of go over that. If you want to be added to a panelist and you want to go over something, if you want some clarity on something, or if you want to be coached on something, if you feel like, okay, this proving energy, this is what's coming up in my life, this is the situation, I want to share this with you, I want to kind of start to see my own thinking and get some work done on that. If you want to do that, we can open up to that as well.